Am I the asshole for asking my military boyfriend to help around the house? My military boyfriend, 22, and I, 26F, have been living together for a little over a year now. Recently I was given the opportunity to leave my job and work on a passion project with the intent of eventually returning to work if things didn't work out, and over time I've run into a big issue. It was always clear that I would do the majority of the housework, cooking, shopping, etc. for obvious reasons. I would be home the majority of the time and I wouldn't have as much stress on my shoulders. My boyfriend is deployed to do a mission where his mental and emotional health have been severely compromised, and he is able to come home a few days every week. Me doing house chores seemed like a no-brainer. Helps him ease his stressors, unwind, and then get him back to the grind. However, it became very clear that no matter how much I cleaned, it would often be destroyed as soon as he got home, trash and beer cans and bags, with plates and cups piling on various surfaces, but it feels as if I'm supposed to pick up after him. There are some days where it's just plates and cups, which are easy enough to pick up, but why am I constantly having to pick up after both of us with a little more from him? I'm just one person, and I have ADHD. I clean the house and do other chores as best I can, but I'm just not fast enough for him. After a huge clean-up project, it usually takes me a day or two to get back in the swing of cleaning. With futility and lack of appreciation of the situation, it's becoming harder and harder not to avoid cleaning altogether. I'm honestly trying so hard to keep things clean that I've lost sleep over it. Mostly to avoid the talk of how I'm falling behind on the chores. He's right, but it honestly feels unfair. So I suggested that he could help keep things to his standards by doing some smaller chores, i.e. taking out trash, vacuuming, switching laundry, dusting. Seeing someone else clean will always make me want to clean, so it's beneficial for a multitude of reasons. He will not have it. You don't know what it's like. This is my downtime, I just want to relax. Why do you always make things more stressful when I come home? He wants to come home and do absolutely nothing, which I understand because of his deployment, but it's not as if I'm asking him to do all the chores for me. I have to note that I told him he didn't have to do anything that would take longer than 2 to 5 minutes, but at least one chore during the day or two he's home so that I can focus on bigger house projects would fix so much of his problems with the house. He's still unhappy and tells me that I use my ADHD as an excuse when I try to explain why I can't clean fast enough. I've even tried to explain why seeing him doing smaller tasks will help get my beehive brain to do bigger household chores by association, but he dismisses me. Often. I want to be clear, he does help around the house, has started eating in the kitchen to put his plates etc. directly in the dishwasher. It just feels like I can't catch a break with the housework at times. Am I the asshole for wanting my military boyfriend to help with small chores? Edit. Clarification and wording X2. Not the asshole. You, my dear, are a bangmaid. Military people also know how to clean and he's just being lazy. Sincerely, a military person. Not the asshole, but you sound like an adult woman that's dating an adolescent boy that never grew up and wants a girlfriend servant. What are you getting out of the relationship other than messes and misogyny? DTMFA. Not the asshole. If you're both working, you should split it equally. Everyone wants to just relax in their free time. Some people decide to hire a cleaner for that and other people just have to clean. That's simply how it is. If you have a bit more time around the house, it's reasonable that you clean a bit more. However, he should definitely be doing something as well. I'd never put up with that kind of behavior. You're already doing a lot. I doubt he will find someone who will do everything for him. Not the asshole. There is no reason at all he can't help with some of the chores. You aren't his maid and he isn't a child. You shouldn't have to pick up after him. He's a grown man who is capable of picking up after himself. His comments about your ADHD and making things more stressful are gaslighting. I work 60+ hours per week and still help with household chores. He's being an asshole. Not the asshole. While I can understand your boyfriend being stressed by his military deployment, that doesn't mean that he gets to come home and treat your home like a hotel and you like a bangmaid. When is your downtime to just relax and have him pick up after you? His behavior is both demanding and demeaning. I am going to say not the asshole, given that the house is clean when he comes home. Maintaining that shouldn't be hard. It literally means just cleaning up after himself. Not the asshole, but you sound like an adult woman that's dating an adolescent boy that never grew up and wants a girlfriend servant. What are you getting out of the relationship other than messes and misogyny? DTMFA. Not the asshole, he should at least not make the house a disaster. Being the main house cleaner doesn't mean the other person gets to trash the place and you are expected to be the maid. They still need to act like adult humans, not toddlers. Am I the asshole for telling my mom that I'm 16 now and I'm too old to play with other kids my age? So I, 16 female, got my dad an all-expenses-paid camping trip for Father's Day. And I mean I paid for everything. I mean food, the campsite, gas, everything. I've been saving up for this for months because he loves the outdoors, and my job doesn't pay quite enough, so I had to save to make this trip happen. Originally it was just going to be me and my dad, because every time my mom hears about camping her immediate reaction is, "Ew, no way." When she heard about the trip on Father's Day, when I told my dad, she was talking about her going with two, and I didn't want her to feel excluded, so I was like, yeah, okay. But when it came time to leave and go to the store to buy food for the trip on Friday at the store, everything I picked up she would be like, "Gross, I won't eat that." I was trying to pick out foods that everyone would eat, but in the end we only got things she would like. She was treating me like a wallet the entire time up there, telling me to buy stuff for her. I only budgeted this trip for 2 people, and I was almost out of money before we even got to the campsite. So I was kind of upset but didn't say anything because this is my dad's weekend. Every time my dad wanted to do something like go swimming in the nearby lake or go on a hike, she would immediately shut it down, saying how much it would majorly inconvenience her. That was her attitude all weekend. She was acting like we were inconveniencing her all the time. And it really pissed me off. And all weekend she's been trying to push me away from my dad to be alone with him, like this was some romantic trip for the 2 of them. And I get that adults need to be alone from time to time, but she was trying to keep me away all of the time. Today, after we finished eating dinner, she goes, "Why don't you go and play with the kids at the camp next to us and leave your dad and I alone for a bit?" And I said, "No, thanks, because I don't like talking to people I don't know. I'm very introverted." She kept bugging me, telling me to talk to them and be nice to them, and I kept trying to explain why I didn't want to, and she just wouldn't listen to me. So after about 20 minutes of arguing back and forth, I finally snapped and told her that, I'm 16 now and I don't just walk up to people I'll never see again in my life and ask them to play with me. It's stupid. And she got mad at me for having an attitude with her and said I was ungrateful for all she does for me, which was completely irrelevant. And I responded that, I was literally paying for this whole trip and she's acting like it was all about her, and she was acting entitled because this weekend was really supposed to be about my dad and she made it about her. She got upset and started crying and went to her tent, and my dad said that it was an asshole move to say that to her and that she didn't deserve that. I do feel bad for making her cry, but I don't feel like it was an asshole move for calling her out on her actions. Am I the not the asshole? She's being a dick, especially if she didn't pay for anything. Parents aren't immune from being assholes, sadly. Not the asshole, you paid for it all, and your mother is just doing, I don't know, backseat vacationing? And may I suggest you tell your story on entitled Parents? The people over there will love it. Not the asshole. There are some weird dynamics here. First, paying for a whole camping trip like that is a lot for a teenager to get her father. Do you feel like you need to do a lot to hold his attention, or win over his love? Or is it just a case of your family being on hard times and you want to remake old memories? Secondly, is your mom kind of the jealous type? Some mothers can get a little competitive with their daughters. The way she's dismissing you and infantilizing you, while turning a father-daughter trip into a romantic night for the 2 of them. It feels competitive. Not the asshole at all. I'd talk to Dad again and explain that you worked hard to do something special for him and it's hurtful to be shut out of what you specifically planned to be quality time for you two, doing something he enjoys. Not the asshole. You did more than your fair share by paying for the trip. It was for your dad, but she basically crashed it. What the hell parent tells their kid to go approach total randos in the wilderness? She obviously has boundary issues, because A, she basically invited herself to the trip, and B, it doesn't even occur to her that by going to play with kids your own age, you would be intruding on those people's camping trip. She wasn't crying because she was hurt. She was crying because she thinks it's an effective manipulation tactic, and it obviously works with your dad, because he took her side. Not the asshole. It was supposed to be a father-daughter trip. She shouldn't have even gone. Not the asshole. Your mum behaved like a child. Not the asshole. Don't get anything big for either parent again. They don't appreciate or deserve it. Save the money for moving out. Am I the asshole for not forgiving my grandparents for lying to me about my parentage? For all my childhood it felt like I, M16, was an only child. My siblings were, Anna, who was 15 years older than me, and Elijah, who was older by 13 years, and they both left home as soon as they turned 18. I was alone by the time I was 5. They rarely visited, even at holidays. It felt like they never wanted to be home. That things were off between our parents and them, though I could never really work out why that was, and I never asked. Things were especially tense with Anna at times. They never treated her with any of the warmth and interest that they showered me with. From a young age, I felt guilty, because I knew that their favor for me showed. It was this unspoken thing that I didn't understand. I assumed maybe it was because I was the baby of the family, so their attention was always more focused on me anyway. Growing up, a lot of my life and time was controlled. My parents have big expectations of me. I study languages, I have violin and piano lessons, and I get A's and B's on top of it all. I never minded, because I liked making them proud, and having so many extracurriculars sets me up well for college. My family is strictly Catholic, and I've been going to church my whole life, and my faith is a big part of my identity. However, I also had to balance it with the fact I'm gay. This struggle caused a huge decline in my performance at school and my relationship with my parents when it came to light. They made me stop seeing my boyfriend, and I was transferred to a different school. This hurt so much, but I thought we could move past it, that it was a temporary knee-jerk reaction. But this isn't where things calmed down. I overheard them talking one night, very late, and they said all their children were disappointments, and that they should have tried harder with me because of it and because I was Anna's son. When I confronted them, it all came out. When Anna was 15, she had me, and my parents went to every length to hide this from everyone. They moved cities and became my legal guardians by convincing her it was the right thing. I felt so angry and betrayed. This was worse than their rejection of my sexuality, because it was them lying to me my entire life and forcing Anna and Elijah to participate, too. Anna has always been troubled and struggled with depression. It felt like I was to blame, my very existence, and the way my parents handled it. I learned she was encouraged to keep away for her own emotional well-being. I haven't been able to forgive them, but they say they were trying to protect us, that it was the best thing for my life. They say if Anna raised me, then I wouldn't have the skills, opportunities, happiness that I have, and that she wouldn't cope. I told them they were evil for robbing her of her child and me of the truth and my real mother, but now I can't help but feel like I'm being too harsh and judgmental, because forgiveness is the right thing to do and they raised me well. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. Your feelings are completely valid, and honestly, if they reacted that way to your coming out, how healthy of an environment was it, really? Getting the opportunity to play an instrument doesn't come close to being recognized as a human being who deserves equal respect and recognition as everyone else. Have you spoken with Anna and Elijah? Oh honey. You are not the asshole. This is disturbingly common in Catholic families. 2 of my uncles are biologically my dad's nephews. I found out as an adult. There was always a weird dynamic, but I could never put my finger on it. It was unspoken for decades. You were lied to about a fundamental truth. It is never a good idea to lie to a child about being adopted. Full stop. The fact that you know and were raised that your biological mother was your sister is twisted, and your feelings of being lied to are valid. Their feelings are not your priority. Not the asshole. This is a huge lie that does affect you, and sucks that the truth has come out this way. How did they expect you to react when you're found out that for the last 16 years you've been lied to in a big way, and they've denied you the opportunity to bond with both of your biological parents, so Anna and whoever your father is and his family, and by default they've ensured that their kids are complicit in their lies to the detriment of your mother, their daughter's rights and mental health? Not the asshole. If you were only 16, your mother gave birth in 2004/5. This was not the olden days, when illegitimacy was a terrible tragedy for both mother and child. Your mother could have lived with you and your grandparents without all the estrangement, lies and guilt you have just discovered. I hope you are able to move on, although it may be a long while before you can truly trust and forgive your grandparents. Not the asshole. The thing about forgiveness is that the person who did the wrong has to first acknowledge that they have caused. It doesn't sound like your parents have done that. They believe they have done the right thing, and maybe their intentions were for the best. You seem to have been doing very well up to this. However, this is a lot for you to take in right now. And you have the absolute right to feel the way you do. If you're not ready to forgive, if you're never ready to forgive, it is okay. I hope your parents are willing to let you see a therapist to help you deal with all of this. Not the asshole. Your grandparents treated you and your siblings with great cruelty, just in different ways. They're not doing these things because it's in your best interest. They're doing them because they want to control you and your siblings' lives in order to save face. You have every right to feel the way you do. Not the asshole. They weren't wrong to protect you from external criticism, but at some point when you were old enough to understand non-conventional families, they should have explained the truth to you. I am glad to hear that you all were physically taken care of. I have seen enough on this board to know not everyone gets all that they should. I hope they can come around on your sexuality, but either way know that it gets better. I was adopted by and raised by my grandmother. But she told me when I was in the 3rd grade how my sister gave birth to me but she wasn't able to raise me and why, as appropriate when talking to an 8-year-old. Not the asshole. Even if Anna wasn't able to raise you, you had a right to know. Update. Am I the asshole for taking away my wife's access to our money? This has been approved by the moderators. Original. Well, it looks like the posters that commented that my marriage is doomed were correct. First, after reading the posts I agreed that it was not fair that I had access to our savings and she did not, even though she gave some away without my consent. Following the advice of several posters, I contacted my bank and I found that the account could be changed so that while both of us could deposit money, it would take both our signatures to take money out of the account. This would give her the same control over the accounts that I had by putting them under my name. I contacted Ashley to let her know that I would put the money back in the joint account if we switched the account to require both of our signatures. She said no, that just showed that I didn't trust her. I told her I didn't, she had taken money without my consent. Of course I didn't trust her. She refuses to change the account. I refuse to give her unrestricted access. So right now I am still the only with access to the money. We also tried marriage counseling, another suggestion that posters brought up multiple times. The counselor asked both of us to say what we thought was wrong with our relationship. Ashley said that I had abused her by taking away her access to money. I said that Ashley had broken my trust by giving away money without my consent. It took a few sessions but it became pretty clear that we just weren't going to see things the same way. I wasn't going to commit to supporting her sister's family, and she refused to see giving them money without my consent as a breach of trust. The kicker came when it got close to the end of the month and Ashley demanded, not asked, demanded, that I put $3,000 in the account for her to use pay her sister's bills. Her reasoning was since she stayed there we owed it to them. I told her she was ridiculous and that if I wouldn't do that while we were together, why in the world would I do it now? She walked out of the session and told me that she wouldn't continue counseling until I agreed. I contacted a lawyer and filed for a legal separation and will be filing for divorce. I found that I am legally obligated to pay usual and ordinary bills of the household, but I am not required to pay any bills for where she moved to since she left voluntarily. So I am doing what I am required to, including things like paying for her car insurance and her cell phone, but I am not giving her access to any other funds. She has asked, more like demanded, I give her money as she will be getting it when we divorce, but I don't have a way of making sure whatever she is given comes out of the final settlement, so I am refusing. Do whatever your lawyer is telling you to do. It's too bad you don't have a prenup. Since she wasn't working you might have to pay alimony. I hope things work out for you in the future and I'm sorry you were taken advantage of like this. At least you now know how selfish and self-absorbed she is and that reality will bite her hard in the ass when she realizes she needs to get a job and support herself now. She needs to wake up to her bad attitude. Helping her sister is one thing, but what she did and how she went about it are very entitled. I hope no kids are involved. Have you spoken to your Sil and explained what her financial demands have caused? Meanwhile, Sil is sitting back, rubbing her hands together, waiting for the divorce payout money she'll convince her sister to hand over to her. Thanks for the update, but sorry to hear how this played out. Listen to your lawyer. Good luck. Not the update we could have hoped for, but an update that seems, sadly, inevitable. As others mentioned, probably isn't the last of the saga, re-kids or alimony. But I think OP is not financially abusive. Rather it's pretty apparent that they had an equal financial agreement that the wife betrayed. Frankly, it feels like she thinks of her husband as a free piggy bank sad face. Unless OP makes buku's amount of $, a partner can't just give away $3,000 a month. OP, as long as you are not bringing in $20,000 plus a month you're not wrong and I applaud you trying marriage counseling before calling it quits. I get that it sucks now but I'm betting a few years from now you are going to see what a huge bullet was dodged by ending it and moving on. I'm betting she's awful in a lot of ways you've just gotten used to. I can't believe she is willing to sacrifice her marriage for her money-grabbing sister. She's going to feel stupid when they use up all the divorce money and have no use for her. This was a painful lesson. When a couple makes an agreement about how money is to be handled, they need to honor it. She violated the agreement. Not the asshole.